Imagine, if you will, a world where the South actually won the Civil War. A world where the Confederacy didn't just survive, but thrived, creating a parallel universe of sorts. Yeah, it's a scary thought. The implications are chilling, a dystopian reality that could have been. But instead of a Gone with the Wind sequel, we got something weirder. Picture a society trying to reinvent itself in the most bizarre ways possible. This new Confederacy is desperate to shed its image as the villain of American history. They're pouring resources into a massive rebranding effort, hoping to rewrite their narrative. And they're doing it with all the grace and subtlety of a drunken elephant at a tea party. It's a spectacle of awkwardness and missteps. The Confederacy is now a kaleidoscope of rainbow flags and forced apologies. Public spaces are adorned with symbols of inclusivity, but it all feels a bit too contrived. They've gone from "we will not back down" to "we're so sorry, please love us." It's a dramatic shift, almost like watching a complete personality overhaul. It's like watching your grumpy, racist uncle try to join a drum circle. The effort is there, but the execution is painfully awkward. You're happy he's trying, but you also kind of want to watch from a safe distance. It's a mix of amusement and secondhand embarrassment. This is a government trying to outrun its past by sprinting face-first into the future. They're attempting to leapfrog over decades of history, hoping to land in a more progressive era. And honestly, it's more uncomfortable than watching a politician try to use TikTok. The disconnect is palpable, and the attempts at modernity often fall flat. Buckle up, folks, because we're about to dive deep into the Confederacy's attempt at a woke makeover. It's a roller coaster of contradictions, a deep dive into a complex and often bewildering transformation. From altering historical monuments to engaging in public debates, the Confederacy's journey is fraught with cultural shifts and societal challenges. It's a story of a nation grappling with its identity, trying to reconcile its past with its aspirations for the future. In cafes and community meetings, people are talking, debating, and sometimes clashing over what this new identity should look like. It's a nation in flux, a society in the midst of a profound transformation. Amidst the chaos, there are moments of unity and symbolic gestures that hint at a brighter future. Public art installations and community events aim to bridge the gaps and heal old wounds. As the sun sets over this reimagined Confederacy, there's a sense of cautious optimism. The road ahead is uncertain, but the journey itself is a testament to the power of change and the enduring hope for a better tomorrow. The first casualty of the Confederacy's rebranding? Their landmarks. These statues and memorials, once standing tall and proud, are now the first to go. You know, those statues of guys who fought to preserve slavery? Gone. It's like watching history being rewritten in real time, one crane lift at a time. Replaced with, well, it's hard to explain. Picture this. Stonewall Jackson is now a giant smiling sunflower. Yes, you heard that right. Yes, a sunflower. Because nothing says, "we've moved past our problematic history," like replacing a general with a giant houseplant. It's almost as if they're trying to distract us with something cheerful and bright. And don't even get me started on the Jefferson Davis Memorial. It's now a skate park called Radical Inclusion Zone. Imagine the irony of skating over the very ground that once honored a man who fought to keep people enslaved. Look, I'm all for inclusivity, but turning a monument to a guy who literally fought to keep people enslaved into a skate park? It feels a tad insensitive. It's like trying to erase the past with a coat of colorful paint and some cool tricks, like putting a bouncy castle in a cemetery. It's well-intentioned, but ultimately misses the mark. The juxtaposition is jarring, to say the least. This is the Confederacy's version of slapping a Band-Aid on a gaping wound. They're hoping that if they rename everything with enough buzzwords, everyone will forget what these landmarks actually stood for. It's a superficial fix for a deep-rooted issue. Spoiler alert, it's not working. People are still confused, and many are unhappy. The rebranding efforts are met with mixed reactions, and the underlying issues remain unresolved. It's clear that a more thoughtful approach is needed to truly address the past and move forward. If you thought the landmarks were bad, wait till you hear about the diversity training. It's a whole new level of absurdity. Every state employee now has to attend these mandatory sessions. Yes, you heard that right. Every single one. And let me tell you, they are something else. Imagine sitting through hours of content that feels more like a poorly scripted reality show than an educational experience. We're talking trust falls, but instead of catching each other, you have to recite the Emancipation Proclamation. Yes, you have to memorize and recite it while falling backward. There's also a game where you dress up like historical figures and act out a woke version of the Civil War. Picture Abraham Lincoln and Confederate soldiers in a bizarre role-play activity. I'm not making this up. It's as if someone took a history book, threw in some modern buzzwords, and called it a day. The problem is, these sessions feel incredibly performative. People are just going through the motions without any real engagement. It's all surface-level symbolism with no real introspection. The presentations are filled with buzzwords and empty gestures. It's like trying to learn about systemic racism from a fortune cookie. You get a catchy phrase, but no real understanding. It might be a fun activity, but it's not going to change anything. People laugh and participate, but leave without any new insights. The Confederacy is so busy trying to convince everyone they've changed that they've forgotten to actually do the work. It's all about appearances. It's all show, no substance. Elaborate costumes and grand speeches, but no real action or change. And frankly, it's insulting to everyone involved. People leave these sessions feeling more frustrated and disillusioned than before. Pause 2S. In its efforts to embrace its new values, the state also implements a historical apology day, where politicians give increasingly extravagant apologies for past mistakes. Imagine an entire day dedicated to public figures lining up to express their regret for historical injustices. But it doesn't stop at mere words. Oh no, there's a whole spectacle involved. Pause 1S. Picture this: politicians in formal attire planting trees in honor of historical figures. It's a grand affair with photographers capturing every moment. These trees are supposed to symbolize growth and a new beginning, but they often end up neglected, much like the promises made during these events. Pause 1S. Then there are the murals. Elaborate, colorful artworks that cover up old Confederate symbols. They're designed to be eye-catching and symbolic, but much like the diversity training sessions, they lack depth. It's a flashy, performative way to say, "Look how far we've come," without actually addressing the underlying issues. Pause 1S. These murals often become tourist attractions, drawing crowds who marvel at the art while ignoring the history it's meant to replace. The state hopes these grand gestures will erase the past, or at least make it more palatable. But in reality, it's all just a colorful veneer over deep-seated problems. Pause 1S. The problem with these symbolic acts is that they are just that, symbolic. They look good on the surface and make for great photo ops, but they don't lead to real change. It's all part of the same pattern: grand gestures, elaborate costumes, and public displays of remorse that do little to address the systemic issues at hand. Pause 1S. And so, the state continues its journey of performative repentance, hoping that enough trees and murals will somehow make up for centuries of injustice. But until there's real, substantive change, these acts will remain as hollow as the apologies they accompany. Pause 1S. The question remains, how long can this facade last before people start demanding more than just symbolic gestures? Only time will tell, but for now, it seems like the Confederacy is more concerned with appearances than with actual progress. Pause 3S. And there you have it, a state caught in a cycle of performative repentance, where grand gestures replace meaningful actions.